Good morning. Welcome to My Left Ear / Opinions Unlimited. I'm Carrie Freeman, and I do have a co-host, Petey Freeman, and I think he'll probably jump up here in a few minutes. He was just napping here in anticipation of the video, and then he got hungry and he went into the kitchen. So hopefully he'll hear me talking and he'll come and join us. So what do I need to say? I need to say, please subscribe and please like. That would be great for me. This is video 281. It's August 29th. Happy Labor Day weekend. So I'm going to address something I had mentioned. This is not political. I had mentioned that I lose things and I find things, and I'm very, very successful at retrieving lost things, items. And I've noted recently, because I think I've been preoccupied, I've had a lot of incidences, and I think I mentioned it on the show, and then somebody said, when are you going to explain your little technique? All right, so this is what I'm going to tell you. When I was in training to become a hypnotherapist a long time ago, after an evening class, I misplaced my keys, which meant I couldn't drive, and I was pretty panicked because the college was closing down and my car was in the parking lot. Well, one of the instructors came up to me and said, listen, you actually know where the keys are. And I said, I do? Yep, you do, because your subconscious was there when you placed them, wherever you placed them, and walked away. You know. So that really stuck with me, and I did find my keys that night. I don't remember how, because this was a long time ago, and it was sort of back in the day. I wasn't even a practicing coach hypnotherapist at that time. So the first thing I want to say is, sometimes we lose things and they are gone. We've all had that experience, but a lot of times, the things are not gone. So I do want to say, what do we want to look at? Okay, let's just talk about glasses. You put the glasses down. Well, the subconscious is present when I or you put the glasses somewhere. But we are preoccupied. We're not, so all of a sudden we can't find them. So the first thing is, I may know they're in the apartment, but I can't find them anywhere. And this can go on for a day or two. So I first say, okay, I start talking to my subconscious. And you say, okay, I need you to help me. You know where they are, and I want you to show me, because I wasn't present when this happened, but the subconscious mind was. So you're talking out loud. You say, okay, show me where, lead me into the room, the corner, let me turn my head, and then I let go. Okay, that's a big part of this. Then I let go. I've set it in motion. I know it may not happen in the next 10 minutes. And inevitably, I mean, the majority of time, I do exactly that. I just find myself walking over to something, and there they are. There's the glasses, or whatever I've misplaced, or my phone. And I see it. Boom, boom. There it is. Because I know it's in this apartment. And my feeling is, I looked everywhere. And I had that with a big bag of coffee beans that I got at Costco. And I'm leaving my Costco membership. So I went and I kind of stocked up. So I had these 2 giant bags of French roast coffee beans, and brought them home, blah, blah, blah. Well, I could have sworn I brought 2 of these big bags up to the apartment, but I could only find 1. And I'm like combing this apartment. I'm going down to my car. Is it in the trunk? Is it hidden in the back seat? No, no, no. Well, this went on for like 2.5 to 3 days. And I'm like, no, I brought that bag of coffee beans into the apartment. And then I did the giving up. And I'm in the kitchen 2 nights ago, and I open my pantry, and I'm looking at the missing bag of coffee beans, which was always there, not quite at my eye level, but right below. But it took like 3 days. And this is how it works. You find yourself walking in a different direction, looking someplace strange, or your eyes catch it. I have great luck with this, by the way. So I had a client named Barbara come to me like last year, I think. I knew Barbara, I had worked with her before, and she was describing to me that she's losing things and she feels crazy, and she tells me about an item that she couldn't find when she parked her car to go to work, and it drove her nuts. And she was like, I had them. Now I can't remember the item that she was talking about, but it wasn't like a big item, like a big pound of coffee. So I walked her through it, and I said, I think what's going to happen, Barbara, is you're just going to glance somewhere and you're going to see the item. And this might have been glasses. So I get an email from her, like must have been 10 days to 2 weeks later. And she said, you were right. I found them. And I found them by my parking place at my job. I just looked and there they were on the ground. So that's an example. So play with this. And what you don't do is don't get panicked. Like with the coffee, I thought I was going a little nuts, but I went, no, just trust this. But it took 3 days. So that. Just know that your subconscious is present when you misplace the item. So it's also an indication, this is for you and for me and everybody, that you might be in a state of overload. My client Barbara was in a state of overload. A lot was happening in her life. And when we're preoccupied and we're not in that moment, that will happen. And does happen. So you might pick up a meditation practice, because that really brings your focus in. It really brings your focus in. All right, so now I'm gonna move on to, I'm doing this at the beginning because people are anxious and they're suffering right now, and we don't know where things are gonna fall or the outcomes. And I think we need a little good evidence at the front of the show, at the beginning of the show, like a feel-good moment. So I'm giving you this. I loved this story. Now, if you look at my front page where you're looking at me talking right now in this outfit on this day, if you click post, that's where I post a lot of great photos. I love finding these photos. And or I tell you I'm going to be doing you'll see me later on. I'm uploading a video, blah, blah, blah. So here's the story. Now you'll see a picture. It's out in nature. It's kind of like a country road, and then like grass, and then a forest. And you'll see it on my post. I put it there this morning, of a female, I'm not sure the age, but on the young side, sitting down like homeless. So the story is that this policeman drove by her and saw her, didn't stop, had no intention of moving her or giving her a ticket or anything, but he went to a local restaurant and he bought 2 lunches. And he drove back to that road, to that young female sitting on the ground in the grass, having a bad day. And he parked his car And he got out and he said, I got us lunch. I'm officer blah, blah, blah. And he sat on the back fender of his car. She opted to stay sitting in the grass. And there they are having lunch together and talking. And this story got out. Someone took that picture, and he really got such great attention from his community. And I guess he's known for these kinds of kindnesses and noticing people. Now, what I don't have for you is her story and what happened to her. But I really want you to know, my left ear feels she got a lot of help. She got support. She got more food. And probably somebody started a GoFundMe for her. So I call it the picnic. And man, that was a good evidence story for this young woman. But imagine how good the cop felt. He didn't do it for himself. He just is a good man. Just a good man. So anyway, we love the picnic story, and we love that policeman. Here's another one. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce got engaged. You know this. It was everywhere a few days ago. I kind of thought they already were verbally, myself. I think they're a great match. They're two philanthropic people that do philanthropic things, and they're both highly successful in their fields. That's an understatement. And they're a match. They're compatible. It's right. Here was my thought, and I don't know if I can find this out, but I saw the engagement where it was in like kind of a rose garden, and there was, what do they call those things? Like a arch, and it was very beautiful. And that's where he proposed to her, and it was, I guess, very emotional and very beautiful. But here's the thing, that night, there was an engagement party. And I'm thinking, Taylor must have known this was coming, because how was there an engagement party? It wasn't like whipped up in 3 hours. So who set up that engagement party? Did Travis do it, with his helpers, and she just found out about it? Got this feeling she knew this engagement was going to happen. It doesn't take away from how beautiful it was and how great it is that they found each other, but it's like, was this a little bit pre-planned? I don't know, but I really don't care. I just a thought, and I have no cynicism. I just like this story. Here's another good story. I have runes. We're going to talk about stuff. A state, this is Iowa, which is red, correct? The state of Iowa. But this Senate seat got flipped by a Democratic woman. Democrat flips Iowa seat in a red district, a ruby red district, won by 10 points. Now, it's not it's the state Senate. It's not, the DC Senate. Doesn't matter. It's great. Now my screen just blew up a little bit. Come on, give me that. So that's great. Her name is Caitlin Drey, D-R-E-Y, and this breaks the GOP super majority. And then here's a story that made me very, so happy. I think I talk about it every day. The Alcatraz concentration camp in Florida is closing. It's being shut down. Wonderful Congressman Maxwell Frost. He's got a huge future. So articulate, so cool. He got up and really talked about it. He's been going out and visiting, And these poor prisoners are, they're sweating, they're stuffed together, they're dirty, they don't get good food, and they're yelling at him, please save us. Can you call my mother? Terrible, horrible. Well, finally, all the protests, complaints, outspoken, things that have been written, it's not working. We knew it wouldn't, but it's not working, and it's being dismantled, and it's going to be gone within days. So this Alcatraz place, a huge waste of money that could have gone to feeding kids breakfast and lunch at school, helping people that have medical issues. No. It's we're throwing documented people into detention, innocent people with really good jobs into detention, and then this place in Florida, it was like swamp isolation, brutal heat, infested food reportedly, and lack of medical care. And when that facility was going to be visited, I think a week or two ago, they let those inmates take showers because it was going to look pretty terrible thing. And then the last thing is, it's about the hypocrisy of the GOP when it comes to children, when it comes to predators, and we just keep getting these stories. There's actually another story in Florida that I'm not even covering today about a mega church that has like 28,000 square feet, full of money laundering, trafficking, making people work for nothing, and that whole place has been seized, and the predator. Anyway, I didn't even write this down. It just keeps happening. So here's the story, and then I'm going to get with the runes. A Republican official in North Carolina was charged with felony child abuse after he allegedly attempted to drug his two granddaughters with cocaine and MDMA. Now, MDMA, maybe it's a different drug, but it's a similar drug, okay? Now, he is, or was, the chairman of the Surrey County Board of Elections. His name is James Edwin Yokely Jr. He lied to the police and said that he found hard objects in the two ice cream cones that he bought from Dairy Queen, but it wasn't true. They had video surveillance, and they caught him placing the pills and the MDA or whatever in the girls' ice cream. This was their grandfather, Republican chairman of the blah, blah, blah. Well, he's gone. But it just seems like it's not that a Democrat isn't capable of being a predator or a criminal, but we hear this overwhelming amount of Republicans getting busted for trafficking, for child porn, for kidnapping, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, my first question to the runes today is based on Kamala Harris. Trump took away her security clearance. Now, he might have done that months ago, but for some reason it's surfacing right now, and I think it might be recent that he did this, but I don't know. I'm admitting this to you, but it's kind of come up again in the news. It's alarming. It's horrifying. It just is consistent with how evil and vengeful and irresponsible he is. So I just asked the runes one question: is Kamala safe without security protection? And I got the rune of protection in the upright position. Swear to God. I didn't pull other runes. So this is the rune of protection. It's aligned with, some of these are aligned with animals. This is aligned with the elk. And it's about knowing when it's time to retreat and consolidate and control emotions. It does say during times of transition and change, it's important not to collapse into emotion. She needs to stay cool, and she is cool. But it does say new opportunities and challenges are typical of this room. You know, she just had this book come out. She doesn't want to run for president. I agree with her. I love her, but I think it's a good idea. So finally, this rune that I pulled for her said it is considered to be the protection rune and a rune of healing. And I think the book she wrote about losing is part of her healing process as well. And I'm so glad she wrote it. Now we're moving on. The next rune I asked, will the GOP steal the midterms? Just came right out with it. So I got the rune of signals. It's the messenger rune. And it says, be prepared for messages of great importance that can bring change into your life. Signals, signs, messages, and omens. Be aware. Pick up on all of these subtleties, and there's some things that aren't so subtle. But what's weird about signals is it embodies the capriciousness of life, which made me think of all the games and secrets that the GOP are involved with. And in addition, the signals is known as the trickster. And that's what they're already planning and working on. This trickster energy reaches into our comfortable lives and shakes everything up. So we have to look within and deeper. It can represent the holy power and cleansing aspects of change. Now let me repeat that, because think about the question. Will the GOP steal? Well, they're going to try, but are they going to steal? And it says to us, there's the holy power and cleansing aspects of change. And it says, the change may not be comfortable, but it is coming. So this battle is happening, and it'll just get louder and louder and louder the closer we get to that time. The signals rune speaks of both endings and beginnings. That's a very good sign. The ending of their reign of terror. So keep that in mind as you listen to all the propaganda about the midterms. Yes, it's true, but they're not going to be successful. That's like the upshot. So then I got partnership. Partnership, interesting. Partnership is usually really good. There are partnerships of all types. I didn't go through all the different kinds of partnerships. You know, there's business, family, marriage. But here's what I wrote. I wrote a note to myself that this is what I wrote. It feels like we're going to have allies to aid us, and help us. That's what I wrote. This says our modern economy actually works on partnership of the seller and the buyer. Very true right now, correct? Just about everywhere one looks, there is partnership. So I do think we're going to have kind of I don't know if it's going to be an outspoken or a silent, but we're going to have allies, because the rest of the world does not like Donald Trump, the GOP, what they're doing, what they're promoting. Then I got the rune of growth. And it fosters rebirth. Think about that, rebirth. The Democrats having a rebirth and growth. So the growth may occur in affairs of the world, right? It leads to blossoming and ripening. It cautions us. Consider your issue with care and awareness. Dispense resistance and cleanse the dark corners. Clean it out. Clean them out. And then move to accomplish our work. And growth, this rune, is concerned with the flow of beings into their new forms. My left ear loves this. Through steadfastness and right attitude, further blossoming can occur. Maybe even the Senate wins. And it also deals with death, rebirth, and renewal. You know, the death of the GOP posse. All right, next rune, really easy. I asked, will RFK be fired? You know, he's playing with the CDC. He's playing with people's lives, children's lives, and he's a fruitcake among many fruitcakes. So I pulled the rune of gateway, which is kind of perfect. And gateway represents moving from one space to another space. So I'm thinking moving from employed to fired. And it says, without the gateway to show us that we are transferring from one space to another, we may not realize the transfer has occurred. Like we haven't noticed the marker. I think he feels pretty safe, but I don't think he should feel pretty safe. So this rune indicates that there's work to be done both inside and out. Yeah, he needs a team of psychiatrists. He's out of his mind. And he has such a dark history. Deep transformational forces are at work regarding this passage from one form to another. And then here's the beautiful one about RFK. I pulled, with that saying, is he going to be fired? I pulled the chilliest rune in the deck. That is called Stand Still. It's the coldest rune. I wanted you to see it. It represents the property of ice. Stand still. The winter of your spiritual life is upon you, JFK. You may find yourself entangled in a situation to whose implications you are, in effect, blind. Maybe one of those worms got into his eyesight. And it says that he may feel powerless. He will be powerless if he's fired. I think he will be. There is a freeze on his useful activities. He's been dissembling the CDC and firing so many people who are educated and have medical licenses. And your plans are on hold, Robert. You may have to submit. And do not depend on others, because when you get ice, nobody's around to help you. You are alone. And I think, yeah, this is the last rune that I'm questioning. Just came to me. Will there be an anti-fascism uprising, like a million man march, a million woman march? So it's interesting. I got joy reversed, and it says things are slow coming to fruition. The process of birth is long and arduous. A difficult passage may be at hand. Well, if we're overthrowing early fascism, yeah, I would call that a very difficult passage. But it says, even if it's brief, see, we're in the early stages. I don't think it's too late. I don't think it's too late. It's awful, but I don't think it's too late. Be deliberate. We need to be deliberate in our choices. We need to consider seeking tranquility and clarity and patience, and be in some emptiness for a while where we don't know. And that's always the case when there's transitioning, that we're like empty-handed for a while. Then regarding JFK, or not the JFK, but the anti-fascism, I got the rune of opening, but I got it in the reversed position. Not good. Expect a darkening of the light in some situation or relationship where it's this fight. It's the dark is the fight against fascism. And this is like a death over a way of life that's no longer valid. This fascism is not sustainable. I'm not the first person to say that. And it's no longer valid. And it's vital to face up to this consciously. And we are. So gladly give up the old and be willing to be with some emptiness without fear. And the new will become illuminated in proper time. So, and here's the last one, which is beautiful. So that was opening reversed. And guess what? The last rune in this question was opening in the upright position. Isn't that cool? I got opening reversed, and then I got opening in the upright position. And it says, after waiting for a time in emptiness, renewed clarity arrives, dispelling the darkness that may be shrouding our lives, or has been shrouding our lives. It advises us, make sure that nothing is left hidden in dark corners. And it's the rune of like morning activities, fresh activities, requiring a clear vision. So the more light we have, the better we can decide what is trivial and outmoded in our lives. And I went through some really neat, good evidence at the beginning, and just a personal story that I had some plastic thing in the front of my car underneath that I think is there to hold, it has to do with like if you're driving through water and or something like that. But it started falling down. And every time it fell down, either a stranger saw it and got down there and fixed it, and then it would fall down again. So I was dealing with this, and it just got worse and worse, and my neighbor clicked it into place, it fell down. And I'm driving along on the freeway, and I could hear it. So I have new mechanics that I like very much, and he clicked it into place, and we could hear this click, and I drive away, and I'm like, oh, so relieved. He didn't charge me. Have a good day. He waved me off. Dan. It fell off again. This is when my neighbor stepped in. It clicked. It fell off again. So I called Dan. Okay, come on over. Can you leave it for 2 hours? Yeah. So I left it with him for 2 hours. So he said, either I'm going to be able to fix it into place, like with screws or zip ties, or I'm going to order you. So he fixed it by putting screws in so it cannot fall down again. And I went to pick the car up, and there was no charge. He didn't charge me. I just thought that was really kind. Other mechanics would have. He took the time to put it on a, what do they call that? That thing that they look under the car. And then he, did his thing. Anyway, it was really sweet. And you know what? I forgot to check quotes, but I know exactly where they are. And I just want to see if I can grab a quote for you. It's just something that slipped my mind. I meant to do it because we love the quotes. So I looked up some quotes by Malcolm X. He said some great things. He said, stand for something or fall for anything. Malcolm X, stand for something or fall for anything. If you have no critics, you'll likely have no success. I love that, because I don't know if I ever mentioned it, but when I went to see, someone took me to see Book of Mormon here in Los Angeles a long time ago, and it had won 9 Tony Awards on Broadway. And I didn't quite believe it was as good as it was. So when I went to see it, I was bowled over by its brilliance, how funny, how good the music, just brilliant. That's all I can say. But at intermission, I got up to go to the restroom, and I passed an older man, squeezing around, and this is what I heard him say. "Well, I'm not impressed." And I went, that was meant for me, because I had written The Comic's Daughter, and you do something like that, not everybody's going to like what you do. If you're a creator, there's definitely going to be people that aren't going to like what you do, or don't think you're funny, or whatever. And I went, yeah, not everybody's going to love my book. And it was just good, and I never forgot that moment. So if you have no critics, you'll likely have no success. And by the way, the two men who wrote Book of Mormon, and they've made, I think they're like billionaires, they do, is it South Park that they do, that just took on Trump and all of his clowns? They are so brilliant at satire, these guys. So that's the quote. And I think I have something different I'm going to do in the next couple of days. I wrote a long article about the how the famous entertainment newspaper Variety got started, because my great uncle started Variety. And before my grandmother died, I interviewed her on recording, and I got all the stories, and I have a book that's out of print about that era. So I wrote the story, and it is a great American success story. Not just because it's my family, but it's amazing. The ins and outs of it took place around the time of vaudeville, and great characters. My great aunt, Hattie Freeman, was the first female journalist on the newspaper. So that's in my blood. Anyway, I think because I wasn't able to get Variety interested in the article, I thought they would love it. I decided, why don't you just do a YouTube and tell the story? So I'm going to do that in the next couple of days. But then on Wednesday, I have this show with Linda G, and I told you about that, and I'll post it. But once it's up, it's going to be up, and you can see it. You don't have to sit there when we're going live. Blah blah blah. So anyway, that's it. I'll see you again. What did Petey? What did you do? Where are you? Well, he just went into the bedroom and disappeared. He had his porridge. He went into the bedroom. So he had a day off. What can I tell you? It's Labor Day weekend. But he'll be back. Petey will be back. All right, my friends. I'll talk to you soon. Make peace, make good memories, and kindness on the streets. Okay, bye-bye.